Welcome to Shop Talk. Today we're going to kind of go over some quick communications things as we are preparing some of the trucks for Baja, led into getting some of the comms ready for this trip, and I thought we'd share some stuff with you in regards to our communication history and timeline and what we use now. Back in the day when we first started, we did use CB radios. We quickly moved out of CB radios because they have a very limited range. They're easy to get, they're easy to use, but they just don't go very far. They're not very powerful due to its FCC regulations of wattage in particular. From there we went into GMRS and FRS. These are bands that the FCC has approved for use in like mobile radios, like your Motorola or your Midland walkie-talkie. These actually in many ways perform better than a CB radio in a truck does because of their wattage and other science stuff, let's just say that. We ran on stuff like this for a long time. We then, when we went into Alaska, we got into a more robust version of this. I don't have one right here, but it's more of a commercial GMRS radio and used in racing teams and things like that. They worked great for a long time. And then eventually we got a few Garmin Rhinos. This is our newest one, but we even had the old ones back in the day. This has a radio transmitter in it plus all the GPS, so that's why there's two antennas. You have a GPS antenna and a radio antenna. And the cool thing about these is that you're allowed to, it allows you to, when you talk and communicate, to send each other's position of the other handheld radio onto your map, so you can kind of keep track of people. Pretty handy, pretty fancy. We love these, we use them all the time. And then eventually we decided that we needed to join the big boy club, and that's getting into 2-meter and ham radio. That came with an entry fee, so to speak. You do have to go get a license. We have our licenses. You study for the ham test, you go and take it, and once you get your call sign, you're up and running and you're permitted to transmit regularly, unless it's an emergency, through a ham radio. So as you get into ham radios, you're gonna have to make a choice on your entry. A lot of people get into them through handhelds. These have the ability to transmit at 5 watts, and they do really well. You got to have your call sign up and running, but then you can use these on the trails and use repeater systems and all kinds of stuff. If you want to go even further from that, like we did, we wanted to put mobile stations in our vehicles that run off the 12-volt power system, big antennas, and can transmit at 50 watts of power. That really gets us a lot more range. We can punch through cities and get more range inside of towns. And then when we're wide out and open in the mountains, we can talk for sometimes up to hundreds of miles if all the conditions line up just right. And we can really get into those repeater sites, which does boost our ability to talk long range. For example, there's a repeater on the mountain behind me that if I talk from the house here, hit the repeater, it goes over the mountain range, and I can talk for 60, 80 miles on the other side of that mountain range. Wouldn't be able to do that with this. Can through a repeater system. So anyway, yeah, that's how we have progressed. We started in the CB world, went to GMRS, walkie-talkies, then went to handheld hams, got into mobile base station ham radios with more power, and that keeps our quick communications going, truck to truck. It's still more efficient than a cell phone. You're not calling everybody, hey, we're gonna take it right here. It's all right here on the handheld or on a hand mic in the truck. Camera guys hopping out, all right, we're ready to roll, go for it, and we're talking from the handheld to the mobile. It really has increased our efficiency. And this is something that you guys could apply to your trips. Communications is oftentimes one of the biggest frustrations that a group of people can have if they're not set up correctly. It slows things down, it makes things awkward. Oh, he took that turn. Oh, I wish I'd have known that. Radios solve those problems. And it gives you the ability to stay, I don't know, socially connected on long road trips, etc. They're a good thing to have. But that kind of stops about right there. ham radios are effective for emergency communications, if the grid goes down and things like that, but you got to really know what you're doing, and you got to have an understanding of all the repeaters in the area. You got to carry books on where you are, especially if you're traveling, you know, across the country and something were to happen. You need to have a lot of information at the ready if something were to happen like that. So that's what gets us into a different type of communications, and we'll hop into the truck and we'll talk about that. I'll just say that there are three main forms of communication that we use at Expedition Overland. One is cell phones, obviously, your smart device. Two is handheld communications, like ham radios or two-way GMRS radios. And third, which I would probably consider the most important because it is the most reliable, is satellite communications. So we run a varying degree of satellite comms inside of Expedition Overland. One, the easiest one, is like an inReach, a Garmin inReach Mini that connects to our Garmin Overlander, and we can text, or it also connects to our smartphones, and we can text back and forth and get an SMS or an emergency signal out if we needed to. Beyond that, if we want to expand into voice, for years we have carried the Iridium Extreme. This phone provides you with the ability to talk over satellite. So if the grid goes down, if you're outside a cell signal, if a natural disaster, any of those things happen, this has the ability to communicate to satellites with voice. And then just recently, we have gone to a new device that steps this game up even more, and that is this little guy. It's called the Iridium GO. And basically, in a nutshell, what this is a satellite hub for smartphone devices. This is not a phone. This is a hub of data or access to satellites, and you use your smartphone and a couple apps to run this. So one is a voice app, one is a email app, a web browser app, and this allows us to do emails, send a lot of data. We can send pictures over it, which is important for Expedition Overland, and also run multiple phones on it. So this is a really cool device. So this plugs in with a USB on the side here. It also has the SOS functions, has an external antenna mount, which we will eventually get going on this truck, and that sits on the dash. Then my iPhone becomes, through Iridium GO, I can make phone calls. It connects over Wi-Fi. I say that my phone wants the Iridium GO Wi-Fi network, and that allows me to make data voice calls. So yeah, we can message and track over this as well. It kind of just does everything. And so with a vehicle-based expedition, the Iridium GO is really a great platform. And I was exposed to it on the Greenland expedition. And it worked so well that I was like, Expedition Overland is going to have that as well. So anyway, you can get all this if you're interested in this. We get ours through satellitephonestore.com. They have a lot of great videos and everything to explain how all this different stuff works as well. But if you're in the world of sat phones, take a look there and get yourself a good solution.